standard, right? Yes. So I would be starting with a revision for, let's say, the very first topic, altitudes and median, but I believe we'll need compass box for that. Just give me a minute. Yeah, it is all about draw that. Anyways, I would start with chapter 4. Yeah, I know Arik sir is teaching the last chapter. So see, I can either go ahead with chapter 4 or chapter 8. There are only two chapters I can help you revise with, or maybe the second chapter, parallel lines and transversals. So these are the three topics I'll be revising, right? So I'll select any one today, and maybe if time permits, we'll deal with the others. Let's say I'll start with the second chapter. I will go line wise. Once we finish the revision with second chapter, doubt solving with second, I'll go ahead with fourth and then with eighth, right? So let us talk about parallel lines and transversals first. Okay. So talking about parallel lines, I hope you all kids remember the definition of parallel lines. Yeah, I've started with chapter 2, right? So I'll be starting with revision of chapter 2. Just let me know if there are any chapters pending, children, right? I believe all the chapters have been completed, so I'll be starting with the revision of this particular chapter, which is chapter number 2. Then chapter 4, and then we'll be talking about quadrilaterals. Sir, 2 chapter we are done for exam. So it won't be there for the semesters. The child who asked me, it is there, right? So let us revise it. There are certain kids for whom this chapter would be there in the semester or in the exams. So let us revise it, right? So talking about this concept, parallel lines, I cannot help it, Bhagya, for you because there are many other kids who have this particular topic, right? Okay, Ishan, seventh or eighth nahi hai aapko, but second hai, right? So talking about parallel lines, two lines which never intersect each other and lie in the same plane. That is the definition of parallel lines. Two lines which never intersect and must lie in the same plane, right? When I say same plane, it is very important to understand a plane is nothing but a flat surface. Now imagine a horizontal line, children, somewhere, let's say in the plane of this book, this page. And imagine a vertical line which is outside this page, somewhere here, like this pen is. Now this horizontal line and this pen, will they ever intersect? आप ये horizontal line को extend करो और ये pen को extend करो, right? They will never intersect because the pen is outside the textbook. So they do not lie in the same plane. So two lines which lie in the same plane, जैसे अभी ये pen मैंने paper के ऊपर रखा है और यहाँ पर this finger, let's say this is the second line. These two lines, they lie in the same plane, and when extended, they will never meet or intersect each other. Hence, I can state that these two lines are parallel. So this is line L and this is line M, right? So symbolically, we write it as line L is parallel to line M. Now, children, there is this beautiful term which we'll be using again and again, transversal. Now, what exactly is a transversal, children? A transversal is a line, right? It is a line which intersects two or more lines at two or more distinct points. अब इसका meaning क्या है? Let us understand. So if there are two lines, let's say this is the first line and this is the second line. Definitely, as we can see, they are not parallel to each other. But I never said कि ये दोनों line, those two lines, they must be parallel. I just mentioned that a line which intersects two or more lines at two or more distinct points. So there are two lines and there is this beautiful line N which intersects L and M at two different यानी distinct points. एक ये वाला और एक ये वाला. And hence N is nothing but the transversal. So line N is transversal for lines L and M respectively. I hope that is clear, children. Now we'll be moving on to learning about types of angles. When I talk about types of angles, let us understand how many types of angles do we have. Yes, Dinesh, क्या हो गया बोलो? You're asking me to wait. What happened? Do you want to write all this? What? Why exactly are you requesting me to wait? Okay, the first page is here. Don't worry about that. Right? So I'll be talking about types of angles, children. Now, in order to talk about types of angles, I'll need a transversal and two lines. Now, those two lines, they may be parallel, may not be. I'm not interested in that as of now. But I am interested in types of angles, right? So I have named this line as line L. I have named this line as line M, and this is N, the transversal. Children, talking about number of angles being formed here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So how many angles are formed by a transversal for two lines? The answer is 8. Correct? 8 angles are formed. Now we'll be talking about types of pairs of angles to be precise. And the first type of angle which we'll be learning is, let's say, corresponding angles. Right? So how do we identify corresponding angles? See, corresponding angles are those angles which have similar position. They can also be identified with the help of alphabet F. Correct, Emily? Yeah. So I'll be using this alphabet F. Let's say I put it here. F, or kind of the other orientation of F, or it could be like this, or maybe however be the orientation, you can use it to identify the pairs of corresponding angles. For example, I'll help you with one of the examples here. 1 and 5. Now, children, talking about 1 and 5, I'll just try to, move the pen. Kindly pay attention. See, the F shape, which is supposed to be visible to you all people, has to start from here, go like this, and like this. So this is the F. I want you all to, be there, highlighted in your minds. I hope everybody is paying attention. So ये जो F फॉर्म हो रहा है, इसके अंदर एक है एंगल 1 और दूसरा है 5. So the first pair of angle is 1 and 5, right? The second pair of corresponding angle is 2 and 6. Dinesh, you can just type your query in the comment box. I'll be reading and I'll provide you the solution. 2, 6, 3, 7, and 4, 8. So this are the 4 types of corresponding angles. right, children? Okay. The next type of angles we'll be talking about is alternate angles. Now, children, generally when we talk about alternate angles, by default, it means interior alternate angles. Now, for further reference in exams, if the word is only alternate angles, the word used is only alternate angles, by default it has to mean interior alternate angles, right? But let's say if we are talking about the other part, exterior alternate angle, तो वहां पे वो word specify करना जरूरी होता है question में, that state the exterior alternate angles. I hope that is clear. So I'll be talking about alternate angles ka first variant, interior alternate angles. Uh, the variable used to identify alternate angles is Z, or in fact any orientation of Z, which you can find in the diagram figure. Now talking about this orientation, see this is the Z which I can kind of locate in my mind. So the angles between Z are 4 and 6, right? So the first pair of interior alternate angles is 4 comma 6, and the second pair of interior alternate angle is 3 comma 5, right? So there are only two pairs of interior alternate angle. Now I'll be talking about exterior alternate angles. So what do we mean by the word exterior? Bahar wala. So talking about this pair 4 and 6. तो 4 के लिए exterior Z के बाहर की तरफ, not 3, this side I'm talking about, it is 1, and फिर से ये Z के बाहर की तरफ it is 7. So it has to be 1 and 7, right? 1 comma 7. Likewise for 3 and 5. 3 and 5 के लिए it has to be 2 and 8. So the second pair of exterior alternate angles has to be 2 and 8. Is this clear to all of you? Anyone has any query with respect to alternate angles? Let it be interior alternate angle or exterior alternate angle. Just ask your doubts in the comment box, in the chat box. If not, you can just take a screenshot of this particular thing. There is one more type of angle which I'll be discussing on the next page. I want you all to take a screenshot of this or maybe copy this. Be very quick if you are copying it, since we have already written it. We'll give you next 5 seconds to take the screenshot, children. Hope everybody has done that. Yeah. Moving on to the last type of angle, that is interior angles. Now, to identify interior angles, the alphabet used is basically C, right? Or any orientation of C. Now, talking about C, what I can see here in the figure is this particular shape C ka, and I have 4 and 5. Likewise, 3 and 6. So 4 and 5, comma 3 and 6. Yeah. So this are the pair of interior angles. I hope that is clear to all of you. So the first exercise, children, is all about identifying कि कौन से interior angles है, कौन से alternate angles है, and that's it, right? So let us talk about this very first exercise here. I'll just go through it very quickly and then we'll move on to the next part, right? I'll just zoom in a bit, right? Yeah. So angle P and dash. We are talking about pairs of corresponding angles. So we need to talk about shape F. So talking about P के साथ F मतलब it has to be this F. राइट चिल्ड्रन? तो P के साथ कौन सा एंगल आ जाएगा? W. So the angle which we need to put here is angle W, right? The next angle Q. अच्छा, F मतलब it has to go like this. तो एंगल Q के साथ कौन सा एंगल आएगा? एंगल X. So angle Q and angle X. Next is angle R. Now talking about R, F position में अगर हम लोग लेने जाए, the shape F, it locates R with Y. So angle R and angle Y form a pair of corresponding angles. And moving ahead, definitely angle S will form and corresponding angle with angle Z. The F shape is to be imagined in this way, right? So I hope everybody has understood the answers for this, right? Now we talk about interior alternate angles. So that basically means alternate angles. We need to talk about the shape Z for alternate angles, right? So Z मतलब like this. So S has to be with X. तो यहाँ पे आ जाएगा angle X. Now W, children, the Z has to be like this. W is supposed to be with R, right? So I hope everybody has understood question number 1. Is there anyone who is having any sort of doubt with respect to this question? If no, kindly acknowledge. Yeah, thank you, Nishita. So moving ahead now, observe the angles. Yeah, thank you, Dinesh. Thank you, Shreya. Yeah. Uh, Observe the angles shown in the figure and write the following pair of angles. Interior alternate angles. That means again we are talking about alternate angles Z. So children, talking about Z, I can imagine Z like this, right? Something like this. So angle C and angle E forms a pair of interior alternate angle. Likewise, I can also imagine Z to start from here and go like this. So that means angle B and angle H also forms a pair of interior alternate angle. So there are two answers, right? C, E, B, H. Now talking about corresponding angles, there will be 4 pairs of corresponding angles. Now talking about A, तो A के लिए जो F shape दिखना चाहिए, it has to start from here like this and has to go here. So the F shape which has to be visible is this part, A, comma E. Next is B, comma F, D, comma H, and at last the last one is C and G. I hope everybody has understood the pair of corresponding angles. And talking about interior angles, the shape which we need to think of is C. So C matlab it has to be like this. Matlab angle B and angle E forms a pair of interior angle, and angle C and angle H forms a pair of interior angle. Correct. B and E. Correct, Shreya. So C and H forms a pair of interior angle. B and E forms a pair of interior angle. If there are any questions with respect to this, just let me know. If not, we can just move on to the concept related to the next exercise. Yeah. So I believe we are good to move on to the concept related to the next exercise. Okay. I'll just try to zoom out here. So children, the concept which we need to talk about here is known as property of, let's say the first type of angle we'll be talking about is corresponding angles, right? So let us understand what is property of corresponding angles. If there are two lines which are parallel to each other, right? If there are two lines which are parallel to each other, for example, line L is parallel to line M, and there is a beautiful transversal line N. So it is given line L parallel to line M on transversal line N, right? Now I can state using property of corresponding angles that if the lines are parallel, if the lines are parallel, then the corresponding angles, I'll just give the names 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then the corresponding angles, children, they are congruent. That means angle 1 will be congruent to angle 5. Also, angle 2 would be congruent to angle 6. Likewise, angle 3 would be congruent to angle 7. And last but not the least, angle 4 would be congruent to angle 8. और ये सबके लिए आपको एग्जाम में रीजन क्या लिखना है? प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ corresponding angles. I hope this much is clear. Any doubts with respect to property of corresponding angles? It is very simple. If the lines are parallel, then the corresponding angles are congruent, right? Saidham Ashish Gupta says the video is not clear. Is it, children? Now is it clear enough? Nishita says it's clear. Ashish, must be some internet connectivity issue, right? So the basic concept which we have studied, Ashish, here was very simple. I said if the lines are parallel, then the corresponding angles are congruent. Now this thing, it is nothing but property of corresponding angles, right? So everybody has understood this concept? Okay. We move on to the next property, children. Property of alternate angles, right? Now, what is property of alternate angles? Again, it is pretty much similar to the earlier property. If the lines are parallel, right? If the lines are parallel, then the alternate angles so formed are congruent. So it is given that line L is parallel to line M on transversal line N. So if the two lines are parallel, right, I can state the alternate angles, matlab Z shape. Yes, this is a revision, Sneha. Then the alternate angles formed are congruent. 3 and 6 would be congruent. So angle 3 will be congruent to angle 6. Likewise, angle 4 would be congruent to angle 5. The reason being property of alternate angles. Just take a screenshot of this, children. Right? You can take a screenshot of this. Then we'll talk about the last property and then we can just move on to the exercise. Let me know once you people are done taking the screenshot. Thank you, Nishita. Yeah, Devan has finished taking the screenshot. So moving on to the last type of property. So property of interior angles. Now, since we have already completed the chapter, I would expect you kids to answer it correctly. See here, it was if the two lines are parallel, then the corresponding angles are congruent. Here it was if the two lines are parallel, then the alternate angles are congruent. So here it has to be if the two lines are parallel, then interior angles are what? If the two lines are parallel, then the interior angles are perfect. Amberlane, the answer is correct. Nishita, the answer is correct. Imon, the answer is correct. Right. So there are three kids who have answered it correctly. And the fourth one, fifth one, Ilag and Prachi, both of you are correct. So the answer is supplementary and not congruent. Remember it, children. Right. So here, if two lines are parallel to each other and there is a transversal, right? Then the interior angles are supplementary. So if it is given line L is parallel to line M on, I hope you people are also paying attention on the presentation. On transversal line N, talking about interior angles, the alphabet used is to be C, matlab 4 and 5. So angle 4 plus angle 5, the answer has to be 180 degree. Supplementary का मतलब होता है दोनों का addition has to be 180 degree, right? Or the second possibility was this side का alphabet C, that is 3 and 6. So angle 3 plus angle 6 will be 180 degree. And the reason will be property of interior angles. So you can take a screenshot of this. Then we move on to the exercise. So we have studied three properties: property of corresponding angles, property of alternate angles, and property of interior angles. Done. So here is question 2. Choose the correct alternative. In the adjoining figure, if line M and N are parallel to each other, right? Yeah, if line M and N are parallel to each other and line P is a transversal, then find X. Talking about X, I can see this is angle 3X and this is angle X. Together, they form this alphabet C. That means they are what type of angles, children? The answer is correct, Imon. But what type of angles are they? Perfect, Ishan. They are interior angles. And we all know if the lines are parallel, if the lines are parallel, which is given, right? On transversal P. The interior angles, they are supplementary. The reason for this has to be property of interior angles, right? So 3x plus x matlab 1x. So 3x plus 1x, that is 4x, is equals to, I know the answer is 45, but I'm just trying to solve it so that all the other kids know it. This 4 children, I'll shift it here. So that gets divided. So x ka value, when you divide, you'll get it as 45 degrees. And they've asked us to find x ka value, which is option C. Right, children? So this is question 1 ka first question, jiska solution. I hope that is clear to all of you, right? So you have to solve this in exams and then write the answer as option C, 45 degree is correct option. Now, if this is for 1 mark, you can directly write this as the answer. But if this is for 2 marks, you have to do this, the solution as well, right? So we move on to the next question now. I believe you people must have taken the screenshot of this if needed. Anyone needs the screenshot of the earlier page, just let me know. So question number one ka second sub question. In the adjoining figure, line A is parallel to B and line L is a transversal, then find X. Okay, this time children, 4x and 2x, they do not form any pair of angles. But you know what? What I can do here is I can introduce one more variable to help me understand the sum in a better way. Like this is 4x and this is 2x. Let's say A, B, and L are already being used. So I name this particular alphabet as, let's say, alphabet D, right? So children, angle D and angle 2x, if you don't remember, I'll help you first with that particular concept. There is this concept known as vertically opposite angles. Now, what are vertically opposite angles and what is the concept related to it? When two lines, they intersect each other, right, at a single point, the angles formed basically, uh, they can be related to vertically opposite angles. Like this angle right here, angle A, will be equal to angle B because they are vertically opposite angles. And angle C, which is this angle, will be equal to angle D, which is this angle. So angle A is equals to angle B and angle C is equals to D because they form a pair of vertically opposite angles. Now children, I can see there are two lines B and L. They intersect at a point. So can I apply this particular concept? Can I state this to form a pair of vertically opposite angles? Yes, right? So before I start with the sum, I would state let D be the angle as shown in figure, right? Now, therefore, I can state that angle D is equals to 2x or D is equals to 2x. Just D is equals to 2x. The reason for that, vertically opposite angles. I hope this much is clear to all of you. I mark it as equation. Now, children, D and 4x, they form a pair of type of angle, right? ये कौन सा type of angle बन जाता है D and 4x? Perfect. They form a pair of interior angles. And we all know if the lines are parallel. If the lines are parallel, then the interior angles are supplementary. Matlab, since line A is parallel to line B, which is given on transversal line L, I can state that 4x plus D is equals to 180 degree. The reason being property of interior angles, right children? So 4x plus D के बदले I would write 2x. So 4x plus 2x, the reason has to be from equation 1. The value which I have substituted, D ka badle 2x, the reason has to be from 1. 4x plus 2x, children, the answer is 6x is equals to 180. Now I shift the 6 on the other side. So that becomes 180 upon 3. That is 60 degree. And I believe in the question they have asked us to find the value of x. Somebody said 30, it is 60. So option B is the correct answer. I hope that is clear. स्नेहा बोल रही है 80, 60 आएगा ना? दिनेश बोल रहा है 90. निशिता says it is 30. क्या हो रहा है भाई सबको? It is 60 children. The correct answer is option B. I don't know why you people are saying the other answers. Which last step is wrong? Just let me know. Somebody is asking me to check behind the textbook. शायद textbook के पीछे गलत आंसर होगा अगर कुछ और है तो. Yeah, the answer for that particular question in the textbook is wrong. Oh, sorry. It is 180 upon 6. My mistake, children. I've just written it as 180 upon 3. A very silly mistake. Thank you so much. Some child helped me here. So 6, I've shifted it here. It comes in the denominator. I've written it as 3 earlier. So 6, 30 is. So the answer is 30. That is option D and that is correct. Textbook के पीछे भी वही. I just made a very silly mistake. Thank you so much. The child who helped. So you can just take a screenshot of this. At the end, you have to write option D is the correct option. It's okay, Dinesh, no issues. Done? Right. So talking about question 2. In the adjoining figure, line P and Q are parallel to each other. So P and Q are parallel to each other, and there are two transversals, line L as well as line S, right? So this angle is 40°. This angle is X. This angle is Y. And this angle is 70 degrees. So we need to find measures of angle X and angle Y. So we need to find X and Y, right? Achha, the only lines which are parallel are P and Q, not L and S. Remember that. Ishan says Y is 40. Okay. Why is that? ईशान, अगर तू y को 40 बोलता है ना, चाइल्ड ध्यान से सुनना, करस्पॉन्डिंग नहीं, तूने ऐसा लिया ना, z मतलब क्या होता है ईशान? Okay, Ishan has done something else. I don't know. Sir, when will be the class end? At 6:30. Now the sum is very simple, children. I'll tell you line P is parallel to line Q, right? You consider one transversal at a time. So transversal S को एक बार भूल जाओ, right? So there are two lines and a transversal. I hope everybody is just focusing on what I am saying. Two lines and a transversal. इसको देखना ही मत S को. So children, can I state if this is 40, तो x के ऊपर ये जो एंगल है ये 40 हो जाएगा, करेक्ट? और ये एंगल एक बार 40 हो गया तो आई कैन वेरी इजीली फाइंड x. द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ? बिकॉज दे फॉर्म अ पेयर ऑफ व्हाट? इसको क्या बोला जाता है? व्हाट कैन आई स्टेट अबाउट दिस? नो, दे आर नॉट सप्लीमेंट्री. परफेक्ट ईशान. दे form a linear pair. Now talking about a linear pair, for those kids who do not know it, if there is a line, can I state the angle made on this particular line, children, has to be 180°, right? So if on this beautiful line, I try to draw a line, something like this, can I state whatever be the measure of this particular angle plus measure of this particular angle, दोनों को अगर ऐड करूंगा, क्योंकि अगर ये straight line है, that angle definitely has to be 180 degree. So that means they form a pair of linear angles. That is linear, right? So I have to name this angle. Let's say I introduce alphabet small a, right? Likewise, in order to find y, children, now let us focus on S. Just focus on S, right? Right? Yeah, Ishan, this time you are correct. Focus on S, line P and Q are parallel to each other. So if I try to form a Z, ये Y है, अगर ये एंगल पता है तो Y का वैल्यू मिल जाएगा alternate एंगल से. But I don't know this angle का value. So can I find it? Again, they form a linear pair. So I'll introduce a variable here. Let's say the variable which I'll be introducing is B, right? So I would state let A and B be the angles as shown in figure. I hope everybody has understood this. Now let us talk about one transversal at a time. So line P is parallel to line Q, which is given on transversal line L, right? Angle A will be equals to 40 degree. The reason for that, children, is because I can see a F, something like this. I hope everybody had understood this. F. So this is nothing but by property of corresponding angles. I mark this is equation 1. Now A and X together, they form a linear pair. So I can directly write angle A plus angle X is 180 degree. And the reason being put as angles in linear pair. Now I know angle A ka plus X is equals to 180. The reason I can put is from equation 1. So children, shifting 40 on the other side, 180 minus 40, the answer is 140 degree. I hope everybody has understood how we find X as 140 degree, right? Yeah, kind of just ignore this part. That was all about linear pair. I'll just continue the sum here. Now I'll talk about the transversal S. So line P parallel to line Q given on transversal S, right? I can state that Y and B are equal. I can see a Z which is formed. So angle Y is equals to angle B. Property of alternate angles, right? I'll mark that as my equation 2. Now, angle B and 70 degree, they form a linear pair. So I state B plus 70 degree is equals to 180. The reason angles in linear pair. Now instead of B, can I write Y? Yes, from equation 2. So Y plus 70 is equals to 180 degree from equation 2. Now I shift the 70 on other side, that becomes 180 minus 70, and the answer, children, has to be 100. 10 for y. I hope everybody has understood it. Yeah, perfect. You can just take a screenshot of this. Okay. Is there any doubt with respect to this sum? If yes, please ask. So, yeah, few kids saying no doubt. So, assuming all the other kids also do not have any doubts, I just move ahead on to the next question. Question number 3. Now, in the adjoining figure, line P and Q are parallel to each other. Also, line L and M are parallel to each other. So, here the vertical two lines are parallel, the horizontal two lines are parallel, right? We need to find the measures of A, B, C using the measures of given angles. Justify your answer. Now, this sum is very simple. Just because यहाँ पे दोनों lines, the vertical lines and the horizontal lines, they are parallel to each other, unlike the previous sum. जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा confusion होता है बच्चों को, they consider the transversals as parallel. This is A, this is B, this is C, and this one's 80. So children, P and Q are parallel. Acha, for P and Q, L and M, there are two transversals. I'll consider L. So I can see this shape C formed here. C matlab this two form a pair of interior angles. So A plus 80 is 180 and I can find very easily A. So I start with that. Line P is parallel to line Q given on transversal line L. So there are three lines which you need to talk about and focus on. P, Q, L. That's it. And the alphabet C. Therefore, I can state that 80 degree plus A will be 180. The reason being property of interior angles, right? Now, shifting 80 on the other side will become 180 minus 80. Therefore, the answer for A, children, is 100 degrees. I hope that is clear. Perfect. I mark this is equation. Now, in order to find angle B or C, I'll have to introduce uh, in textbook. क्या था question? Sir, eyes is paining. Dinesh, yeah, just 10 minutes left. Don't worry about that. There was somebody who was saying in textbook 80 is not given या ऐसा कुछ तो क्या क्या था वो? Can you just put that message once again? Sir, in textbook A does not form interior angle with 80. It forms, child. See, A and 80, C shape है, they form interior angles. आप कोई और डायग्राम देख रहे हो शायद. Elisha, you can just put your doubts in the comment child. I hope the doubt is clear. So, A 100 degree मिलने के बाद, what I realized is in order to find B or C, I have to, kind of name one of the angles here. Let's say I will name this particular angle as D. So before we start with the sum, or at least here, I can write let D be the angle as shown in the figure. Now, why have I named this as D? Very simple, because I've known the value of A and D. Children, if you are focused, यहाँ पे एक F दिखाई देगा आपको. See, Q से start होते हुए something like this. F matlab they form a corresponding angle. Therefore, A will be equal to D, right? So line L is parallel to line M. That is given on transversal line Q, right? Angle A is equals to angle D. The reason being F shape matlab corresponding angles. So property of corresponding angles. Okay, now we all know what is A ka value. It is 100. Now since A is 100, can I state A 100 hai to D will be equal to 100, right? That comes from equation 1. And I mark this as equation 2, right? तो angle A मिल चुका है, angle D मिल चुका है. Now D and B, they form a linear pair, right? So I state that angle D plus angle B is equals to 180 degree. The reason being angles in linear pair. Now talking about measure of angle D, it is nothing but 100 degrees from equation 2. So 100 degrees plus, I don't know the value of B, is equals to 180 degree. The reason has to be from equation 2. I shift 100 on the other side. So B is 180 minus 100. So B has to be 80 degree. So we have found A, we have found B. I mark it as equation 3. Now we need to find angle C. Children, talking about B and C, I can see a beautiful shape here. This shape F, alphabet F दिखाई दे रहा है. So they form a pair of corresponding angles. We need to talk about line P parallel to line Q, which is again given, right? On transversal. This time the transversal has to be M. On transversal line M, C is equals to B. The reason being property of corresponding angles, right? Now angle B is 80. Since angle B is 80, angle C is also 80 from equation 3. I hope that is clear. So we have found A, we have found B, and we have found C. You can just take the screenshot of this particular sum. Hope everybody has understood it. Sir, can we do C and D for homework? C and D. What? Okay, you mean this questions, fourth and fifth. Then what, Sneha? I haven't understood your point. You're talking about this particular sum. Yeah, it's up to you. You can just do it as homework. Take a screenshot now. Yeah, Imon, we are almost done with the session. Don't worry about that. This is the last sum. I won't be just moving ahead. Don't worry. I believe you kids have finished, whatever, copying or taking a screenshot. I believe screenshot would be preferable because we have already finished all the topics. Right? Thank you so much, children. Next time I'll just continue. I expect you kids to try question 4 and 5 whenever you all have time. If there will be any doubts, we'll just look into those next time. And then I'll just finish off the last exercise. We will move on to chapter 4. Right? Thank you so much and God bless you all.